Welcome back. When I found you. Welcome back. Welcome back to another live stream. We have gathered here today because we have to discuss some new drama with Candace Owens, who went nuclear. She went absolutely nuclear on Twitter. And remember, her show is not going to be playing this week. She's taking a break, I guess. But that does not stop her from posting on social media, and that is what she did. And of course, as always, when she posts, she sets social media ablaze. And she did it again. And again. And again. And we got to talk about it because this goes into some of the stuff that I was calling out. And I actually want to take it a little bit deeper because at some point, I am going to have to do a deep dive on Turning Point USA. I'm going to have to because I started digging into Turning Point USA and I'm like, ooh, that's not a good company. Like, there's a lot of weird things happening with Turning Point. And yeah, put it this way, Wolves in Finance, he's on to something. That's all I got to say about that. He's on to something. I see why they're threatening to sue him. Matter of fact, let me pull up his YouTube channel and shout him out. Because that guy right there, that guy is on to something. He's not crazy. I'm sure most of you guys know who this is, but this is Wills in Finance. He's been going after the finances of Turning Point. I believe he's an accountant. And let's see. And Turning Point threatened, right here. Turning Point sent him a legal letter. And that's the games these people play. When you expose the truth, they go after you. That's why you got to be very careful in what you say. I'm going to be very careful in what I say. That's the sad part about reality. Here's what happens. The world, the way the society is currently set up, it's set up to benefit the rich and the powerful. The rich and the powerful have a system where they use propagandists and media and, for lack of a better word, social control to program you to look the other way and not pay attention to the truth. So what you have is you have these solo journalists like Wolves in Finance who expose the truth. By the way, if you go back and look at the 1990s and early 2000s, you also had solo journalists. Just look at the solo journalist that was writing about Epstein in the early 2000s and nobody cared. And they worked tooth and nail to silence her, so to silence that person, right? So I know that you guys are awake. You guys are, you have awakened. You're awoke to everything going on, and that's great. But the problem is majority of the world is not. And that's why these big organizations and these companies are able to do what they're able to do. And I'm here to tell you right now, I went down the rabbit hole today. I really did. And I work a full-time job. I went down the rabbit hole. I spent my entire lunch break looking at Turning Point USA, and I'm like, wow, I actually think that Wolves in Finance is right. And I almost wonder, I'm like, was this happening when Charlie Kirk was alive? I mean, it had to have been. But the question is, did Charlie Kirk know or did he not? Because there's some weird stuff going on with Turning Point USA. There is. Welcome to the people who are just walking in, who are just coming in. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to start off by talking about Candace Owens because she went nuclear on X again. And I got to remember, not everybody has a Twitter. She went nuclear. And she spoke on some things that I 1,000,000% agree with. And I told you guys, there's a lot of fake Christians out here to pretend to be not only Christians, but just good people. And they're not. And we're going to get into that in just a second. All right, we got a comment. Hit the like button. Yep, definitely hit that like button. Jessie Lou says she is taking a week off to prepare for Erika series. Yep. By the way, I think that Erika series is probably going to get her sued. It depends on what she puts in it. But they'll probably sue after that. By the way, has Turning Point ever sued anybody? Because originally I told you guys that I don't think Turning Point would sue. I don't think Turning Point would sue. Two, I don't think Turning Point should sue. But when you put out an entire series about somebody, hold on. Has Turning Point USA ever sued anyone? Those are important things to look up. Nope, Turning Point has never sued anybody, at least just looking on the surface. Nope. Looks like if they were to sue, Candace Owens will be the first person they ever sued, at least for defamation. It looks like people have sued them or sued the state. Yep, I don't think Turning Point has ever sued anyone. Has Turning Point, I said Turning USA. Has Turning Point USA ever sued anyone? Oh, Turning Point USA filed a lawsuit against a university. Yeah, but have they ever sued a person? Because, like I said, Candace, if she's going to release an entire documentary or series, I think she's calling it a series. If she releases an entire series, hey, what's up, fake aliens? Good to see you, man. You've been a supporter of this channel for a long time. Shout out to you. Good to see you. 2016, Turning Point USA at Grand Valley State University. Why does that sound familiar? I've heard of Grand Valley State. That's in Michigan, isn't it? Let me see. It's a public university. Yeah, it is. I was going to say, for those who don't know, I actually lived in Michigan for 1 year. I knew Grand Valley State sounded familiar. So Turning Point USA sued Grand Valley State against the trustees. Oh, no. A Turning Point USA chapter at Grand Valley State University, because Turning Point USA is a student organization. They filed a lawsuit against the trustees of the school. Interesting. Yep, if they were to sue Candace Owens, they would be the first people to do it. Although I do not think that they would do it. I don't think so, guys. I don't think they'll sue Candace Owens. I really don't. I just don't think anybody's going to win. By the way, I want to speak on something else. It's funny how I'm walking back everything that I said negative about Candace Owens. It's so funny. It's actually really funny. But hey, you know how we do it on here, guys. We keep it real. So I did some digging into the Macron thing. I was looking at the Macron lawsuit. And for those who follow the main channel, you will know. When I first started talking about this stuff, I was actually against Candace Owens. I was speaking out against her, which is why I'm questioning why she comments on my videos, because I'm like, do you know that I've spoken out against you? But, maybe she doesn't care about that, or maybe she doesn't know that I did in the past. But I did. On the main channel, when the Charlie Kirk stuff first happened, we're talking like a few months ago. Obviously, it happened in September, but I'm saying I started talking about it like a few months ago. When I first started talking about it, I was black-pilled, right? I was a sheep. I was like everybody else. I was like the masses. I was like, what Candace Owens is doing is evil. Erika Kirk is a grieving widow. She didn't do anything. She's fantastic. How dare you attack her? And then everybody was attacking me in the comments. Not everybody, but actually I had a lot of people on my side. But a lot of the Candace Owens fans were attacking me and just saying how dumb I was, which, by the way, I don't think that's the way to approach it. I don't think guys should insult people who are against Candace Owens. I think you should take the approach that I do, because now that I have fully see where Candace Owens is coming from, and I've woken up to what she's saying, as well as others, because Candace isn't the only one saying this stuff. Now it's the opposite for me. Now I'm getting that treatment. Now the Erika Kirk simps are in my comments telling me how much of a fool I am and an idiot and calling me all sorts of names and I'm a piece of crap and all this stuff, right? And I don't call them names back. I don't go back like that. I just tell them, hey, I understand where you're coming from, because at one point I used to be like you. At one point, I thought Erika Kirk was great and I thought Candace Owens was evil. I used to be just like you. That's why I don't even get mad when those people come in my comments, because I'm like, I see both sides now, because I used to attack Candace. I used to think she was evil too. I used to think she was deranged. But it's starting to turn out that as I do more digging and do more research, I have to give her credit. She's actually right about this. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not a Candace Owens cultist, even though I get called that now. Whatever. I'm not. I think Candace Owens is like Alex Jones. I really do. She is the modern day successor to Alex Jones. Alex Jones says 1,000 different things, and he gets a lot of them right, and he gets some of them wrong. I think Candace Owens is the same way. She so far has gotten a lot of stuff right. Obviously, she's gotten some stuff wrong, as most people do, but she's gotten a lot of stuff right. And the main point of me bringing all this up is I've already flipped on the Erika Kirk thing. I went from being completely on her side to flipping, and now I'm like, I don't trust Erika Kirk one bit. And you guys don't even want to know what I honestly think, because if I tell you what I honestly think, some of y'all just gonna start turning. Y'all gonna turn off the stream. Y'all gonna be like, "What's he talking about?" Like, it's gonna get real conspiratorial. But I've went down the rabbit hole and dug so deep and looked at some of this stuff, and I've looked at the history of like her mom, and the fact that like Erika Kirk was already very well connected, knew Trump, millionaire already before she even met Charlie Kirk. Like, it starts to get really weird, it really does. So anyway, I say that to say I am starting to come around on the Macron thing now. Originally, I was against Candace on that too. I've completely come around. I've completely flipped on that. Now I am starting to lean into the fact, and I'm not going to say it because they're not going to sue me. I'm just going to say I'm starting to lean into the fact that yada, yada, yada. That's it. That's it. I'm not opening myself up to a lawsuit. I don't got Candace Owens money. Sorry. But after doing some really deep digging, I mean, one thing that cannot be disputed in regards to the Macron lawsuit, and by the way, Candace Owens could end up losing that lawsuit, but just because you lose doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong, by the way. But she could very well end up losing that lawsuit because, again, lawsuits in the courts are directly under the control of the rich. Directly. The rich and powerful almost always destroy you in courts, and that's by design. So Candace could end up losing, but I'm starting to see the light on the Macron thing. And it's undeniable that the wife groomed him, right? For those who don't know, Brigitte Macron was that guy's teacher. She was his teacher. She was like 20, 30 something years older than him. She first met him when he was like 14, 15 years old. So I feel like that part is undeniable. Like, she just straight up groomed him. And this is where I think that the Macron lawsuit can really backfire. Because even if the Macrons win, Candace can win by exposing to the world that she groomed this kid. She met him as a teacher. God knows when they got physical and got into a relationship. And this same woman who is your teacher when you were a young boy, all of a sudden is your wife. It's weird. It's weird. So Candace is on to something there. I just got to straight up come out and admit it. She's on to something there. She really is. It's good that she brought that to light because stuff like that is not cool. And this is what the rich and powerful do. These kings and these prime ministers and these people with this power, what they do is they put it right in your face. They hide it, but they don't. They put it right in your face that they're weirdos, and you don't even know. You just sit there and just accept like everything's normal. So it's a scary world out here, man. It really is. It's crazy. So yeah, I've come around to the Brigitte Macron thing. I really have. This isn't like me just, no, I actually did my own research, and I'm like, holy cow, there is something here. And then I also found out that most of where Candace Owens even got that stuff on the Macrons came from these two writers over in France who wrote about it. That's where most of Candace Owens' stuff even came from. They were the original. It was like these two women, I believe. It's two people. I think there were two women, but it's like these two journalists in France who originally started to write about this stuff because they started doing research. And by the way, we just got to shout out the independent journalists. The independent journalists are the unsung heroes because what happens is they get chastised and sued and bankrupted when they first come out. They're always ahead of their time. They get destroyed, and then later on, the truth comes out. It almost always happens. If you want to hear the case in point, I could go deeper, but I don't want this live stream to be too long. But just look at the person who was writing about Epstein in the 2000s and what happened to her. Like, look at it. Like, it's crazy. And now that person has been vindicated. Even like in Alex Jones. Alex Jones was talking about this stuff 20 years ago. Vindicated. Took 20 years for him to finally be vindicated. Could we see the same thing with Erika Kirk and Brigitte Macron. Could it take 20 years for her to finally be vindicated on this? It could. It might not be till 2040, whatever, that the truth finally comes out, just like with Epstein. Just saying. All right. Thank you all for being here. Looks like we got some people in here, so we could go ahead and go over everything. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I just want to make this clear. I don't know what everybody else's motive is, but I really, really, really have a problem with Erika Kirk at Turning Point USA. And one of my biggest issues with Erika Kirk, I already told you guys, the thing that really ticked me off and made me go on the offense on Erika Kirk, where I'm like, okay, I need to start looking into her and I need to start making videos too, is when they allowed Turning Point Faith to bring this pastor who's involved in all these sexual assault lawsuits, I believe in Romania, actually. And the crazy part about that is this pastor, Greg Laurie, they're not saying that he did it himself, but what they're saying is the allegation, the lawsuit is saying that he had another associate pastor who was doing it, and he knew about it and he looked the other way, which to me is just as guilty if that's true. I don't know if it's true, but I have a really big problem with Erika Kirk having that guy speak at Turning Point Faith. Turning Point Faith? Speaking about God and you're involved in these lawsuits? It's disgusting. All right, folks, let's get into it. So Candace made a bombshell tweet today that set the internet ablaze, like it always does. Here's what Candace Owens said. Wild update in the Erika Kirk Jillian story. Most of you guys know I spoke to Jillian. I only spoke to her once. So that's the only reason why I'm even covering this, is because I'm somewhat involved. So I am interested in this story. Wild update in the Erika Kirk Jillian story. Someone sent me a tip that upon further research, they discovered that at the time of her textual relationship with Erika, Jillian lived in a trailer park within a neighborhood that is known for the highest incidents of child, trafficking. Can't say that on YouTube. I forwarded the information to Jillian and she confirmed it is true. Interesting. Okay, so Candace is still talking to Jillian. Okay. That's interesting. So to recap, after striking up a bizarre friendship with the 15-year-old girl who lives in a trailer park without a father, a then 25-year-old Erika proceeds to love bomb Jillian by telling her how beautiful she is. She then asked Jillian for her address to send her chocolate-covered strawberries, meaning Erika was plenty aware of where Jillian lived. Erika knew she was not living with the father in the home, just like Erika knew she was a minor. Yet, according to Jillian, this did not stop Erika from arranging for her to get photographs taken without ever having communicated with her mother. Any person defending this is demented. To be clear, I'm not accusing Erika of having committed any crime, but I am saying that questions need to be asked because it is my strong opinion that it is utterly impossible that Erika continues to have proximity to people, places, and organizations accused of child, trafficking. All right, guys, it actually gets deeper. I did a little bit of research in the Turning Point. There are some nasty people that are associated and affiliated with Turning Point. And I want to be fair because I don't just want to make this a Turning Point thing. With most of the biggest organizations in the world, the 501c3s, the church, whatever, the church organizations, the nonprofits, all these organizations that claim they're out here to do things, a lot of them have weird people associated who do some weird things. And a lot of these organizations are engaged in money laundering. And we're going to get to a little bit of what I dug up. Again, this is just the early stages of my research. At some point, I'm going to have to do another live stream. And I'm going to have to go over every single person on Turning Point's board of directors. I'm going to have to go over it because there's just some weird stuff. And it's funny because I originally started looking into the Daily Wire, but the Daily Wire pretty much got everything hidden. So you can't even really see much with them because they're private. But with them, because they're a 501c3, I guess, you could pretty much see everybody affiliated with them. And it's bad. So I think this is the tip that Candace Owens got. Yeah, this is an email that Candace Owens got. So I guess we could read the email. Why not? So this person sent Candace Owens a tip. They said, they said, hi, Candace. I have an interesting connection for you regarding Erika Franzvi in Auburn Hills, Michigan. As a Metro Detroit native, current resident of Bloomfield Hills, It was widely known that the Great Lakes Crossing Outlet, 4000 Baldwin Road, Auburn Hills, Michigan, is the number one, you know what, trafficking location in the state of Michigan due to its confusing layout, close proximity to the I-75 expressway, making getaway very easy and convenient, and proximity to urban blighted areas such as Pontiac. Oh, I know where Pontiac is. I've been to Pontiac. Yeah, I've been to Pontiac, Michigan before. I work down the road, and my patients and I know to never go there alone as a woman or at night, and to keep your children close at all times. It has a very scary reputation. See attached for reference evidence via Facebook post. Local police have tried denying the claims through local media outlets, but residents know these claims to be true. I myself had a recent experience last month of an older man standing next to the woman's restroom in the Bass Pro Shop, seemingly waiting for someone, yet no one came out of the bathroom and he did not move. When I saw Auburn Hills come up, my mind immediately started drawing these connections. One thing I want to point out about this, guys, it's sad to say because you like to think that you can trust your police department and your government, all this. Look, I know you guys know this. That's why you guys are here. The average person, unfortunately, doesn't know this. Pretty much everybody in power is corrupt. All these systems and law, everybody, typically in these situations, a lot of people be in on it. A lot of people be in on it. So I'm not even surprised when this person says in the tip that local police have tried denying the claims through local media outlets. How you gonna deny the claims when you got locals who are telling you what's going on? What does that make you guys think of? It almost makes you, what does it remind you of? It almost reminds you of Epstein. Remember when certain journalists and victims and Alex Jones was telling you 20 years ago that this stuff was happening? And what happened? Everybody wrote it off as a conspiracy. Why did they write it off? Oh, that's right. Because the people who have the real power and the real control and the money and influence to make things go away and make people shut up were involved. That's why. The same stuff that happened with this Epstein thing on a national level, it happens on a local level too. I don't know why rich and powerful people are synonymous with weird, creepy, PDF, trafficking. I don't know why. It's just demonic and it's evil, but that's what's happening. So I want to make this connection here because I actually believe her. It could be false. I want to throw that out there. It could be wrong. Maybe there's no trafficking going out there. But you got people like me, and I'm sure you guys are too. I don't really trust anybody anymore. After this Jeffrey Epstein stuff and the fact that you got both administrations, we're not getting political. I'm just telling it like it is. Both administrations, both parties are hiding the Epstein files and protecting people. Everybody. They're all in it. They're all involved. Same thing here. It's scary. Let's keep reading. In addition, I did some searching of Jill Falcons or Falcone. I think it's Falcone. Current and previous addresses to see if her positioning in life made her a vulnerable target for Erika. Sure enough, see attached for evidence. I'm not trying to shame the girl, but there are facts that I think you should be made aware of. And okay, let's see. Let me look at the other photo. In addition, I did some searching of, okay, here we go. I am not trying to shame the girl, but these are facts that I think you should be made aware of. And to give you some insight inside Michigan perspective, I know you have been in touch with Jill, so maybe you can confirm this, but I believe at the time of her relationship with Erika, Jill may have been a resident of blah, 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 which is a trailer in a trailer park on the outskirts of Pontiac. Blah, 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 blah. Keep up the good work. Okay. So obviously Candace Owens reaches out to her. Let me read back what Jill said, because I actually think this is interesting. And this coincides with what Jillian told me when I spoke to her. This is very important. So here we go. Candace Owens says, Erika knew she was not living with the father in the home, just like Erika knew she was a minor. And yet, according to Jillian, this did not stop Erika from arranging for her to get photographs taken without ever having communicated with her mother. So Jillian is sticking to the story that even though Erika knew that she was a minor, it didn't stop Erika from arranging to get photographs taken. Now, remember, when I reached out to Jillian, she straight up told me she felt she was groomed. I'm just saying, that's what happened. That's what she told me. So it's interesting how this kind of coincides with that. Jillian is kind of going down that, you know, now that I look back on it, what Erika Kirk did was weird. It would be really good to get Jillian to do an interview, but again, you guys know I follow Jillian on social media. She does not want to be bothered at all. She got a kid, she got a boyfriend, she just living her life. She do not want to be bothered. She just wants to raise her son and keep it moving. She don't want nothing to do with none of this. And I understand the internet could be rough, especially with all the Erika Kirk simps, you know? So I get it. I got attacked for the Erika Kirk simps for doing journalism. So I get it. Imagine the hate she's getting, you know? People are crazy. All right. So then Candace Owens quote tweeted her tweet. And then she said, were it just one isolated incident, I think she meant incidents, whatever. Were it just one isolated incident that landed approximate to children being trafficked, I might dismiss it as an unfortunate coincidence. But here's where we are at with Erika Kirk. All right, this is the part where I want to go over, guys, because this is the part that really annoys me with Turning Point USA and why we really got to call this stuff out. And I want to make something very clear to you that just needs to be said. I think Wolves and Finance is onto something. I think there is money laundering happening at Turning Point USA. I want to make it clear. That is my opinion. Okay, I'm not saying anything about that. It's a fact. Don't sue me. That's my honest opinion. I really think that Turning Point USA should be investigated. Okay, Gil just said, please tell us the truth, what you think about Kirk. Okay, which part, Gil? Do you want me to tell you the truth about Erika Kirk or Turning Point USA? Because I'm doing that right now. Right now, I'm telling you right now. Turning Point USA is close with the Trump administration. Remember, Charlie Kirk was a big part of why Donald Trump even got elected. Charlie Kirk was huge. They were calling Charlie Kirk the, what were they calling him? I forgot, but they called him like the king or whatever. Like they were basically saying that Charlie Kirk holds the power to get somebody elected or not. And he pretty much helped Donald Trump get elected. So because him and Trump are so close, the Trump administration is not going to investigate Turning Point USA, but I think they should. I believe, based on my research, I spent all day looking. I think there's money laundering happening. I really do. I think so. I could go a little deeper, but I don't want to go that deep yet. But I'm just going to say there are outside forces affiliated with Turning Point that are not Christian. Let me say it that way. That's something else that I saw. And again, I'm not going to directly put this all out yet because, again, I want to make sure I got my research together before I just do this stuff, okay? Somebody said they want to know what I honestly think about Erika Kirk. All right, this is going to sound crazy conspiratorial, but y'all got to stay with me here. Remember, this is coming from a guy, me, who originally was against Candace Owens and originally thought that Erika Kirk did nothing wrong and she's just the innocent, whatever, the innocent widow, right? If you want to know what I think about Erika Kirk, I think there's more to her than meets the eye. I can't exactly definitively say what I know. I don't blame people for saying the honeypot thing because based on the way that she's moved around and acted and in her past, it just screams intelligence. Think about it. Both her parents were in the big defense industry. Both of them. Both of them. By the way, you can't find her father anywhere on the internet. Now, if I really did a deep dive and really, really looked and used the Wayback Machine, I'm sure I could find a picture. But it shouldn't be that goddamn hard. You can find my father everywhere. Like, it should not be that hard. You can find Candace Owens' father. Like, most people's parents you can find, which is kind of normal. You can't find her father, Erika Kirk's father. It's very weird. She don't got no pictures with her father. Very, very weird, but whatever. One thing we do know about her father worked in intelligence. Her mother worked in intelligence. Her mother currently sits on the board for weird companies. The other thing that I found weird is right around the time when Erika Kirk and Charlie Kirk met, her mom just started to become a pretty big part of Turning Point. Like it's so weird. And then you look at the other stuff. Tell me this doesn't scream intelligence. Tell me this is normal, guys. Erika Kirk has a history of working with the military. Erika Kirk lived in China. Erika Kirk at 17 years old, founded an organization that launched a Romanian Angels thing over in Romania, some nonprofit organization for kids. Like, it's weird. It's weird, right? Does that sound normal to you guys? Do any of you know, do you guys have friends who lived in China and whose parents work in the defense industry for Raytheon? It's weird. So that's what I think, Gil. I don't know exactly what Erika Kirk, and I gotta be careful. Because Turning Point hasn't sued anybody yet, but they're sending out a lot of threats. I found a local journalist in Arizona who's been getting lots of threats and harassed by Turning Point. Like, Turning Point is vicious, and that makes me even more suspicious. That there are big financial backers behind Turning Point that have other things that they want to do. Yes, Gil, she lived in China and she lied about it, but we were able to uncover that no, she did live in China. Like, what are you doing over there? Like, what it gets deep, man. Let's keep reading. So Candace says, Turning Point USA, at the insistence of Tyler Boyer, who introduced Erika to Charlie and knew her for years prior, opens their headquarters directly across from Arizona Mills, one of the highest places for child trafficking in the state. A mere weeks later, Charlie and Erika have their first date. Erika's for some reason unable to recall how she met / knew Tyler. Now, I don't know if this is true, guys. I don't live in Arizona, so I don't know. I don't know if Arizona Mills is one of the highest places for trafficking in the state. I'd have to do some research on that. I really don't know. I have no idea. Let's read number 2. This is where it starts to get deep. Erika Kirk ran Romanian Angels to work with Romanian orphans. She partnered with the U.S. Marines and worked with Colonel Otto Buscher. Colonel Otto Bush is subsequently accused of trafficking and underage Romanian orphans. Okay. So I did some digging on this one. I looked at this one. I couldn't find any proof that she's banned from the country of Romania. Okay. People say that she's banned from Romania. I haven't found any proof of that. But what I did find is this same colonel who has these allegations against him, he's in a commercial for Romanian Angels, and Erika Kirk actually shouts him out. I wish I could find that video. It's somewhere. If you look it up on Twitter, somebody posted it, but it just gets weird. And here's what I'm trying to say. Here's what Candace Owens is doing. Again, this is just like Alex Jones. It doesn't mean that everything is correct. She may not have trafficked anybody in Romania. She may not have, right? But here's the thing. When you start to piece all this stuff together, now it starts to get weird. It's too many coincidences. There's so many different things that with this lady that are weird. You can literally make an entire list. I'm actually supposed to make a video. I was supposed to make a video on the main channel where I go over everything, every single inconsistency, lie, weird thing regarding Erika Kirk. That's going to take a lot of time and effort, but I probably will do it. I just got to do a little bit more research. But you take the Romanian Angels thing. You're associated with this colonel who has these allegations in Romania. By the way, for those who don't know, you can look Romania up. Romania is known for this type of stuff. That's the other thing that makes it weird, guys. This is what Romania is known for. Some of these countries, like Romania and Afghanistan and whatever, they're known for this stuff. This stuff goes down here because for whatever reason, their governments are soft on it. Their governments, they kind of allow it. So that's what makes it so weird. It'd be different if it was like a country that's not associated with it, then maybe, but why is it Romania? And then here's where it gets even crazier, guys. She had a pastor. Let's go to number 3. We got 2 Romanias here. She had a pastor, and this really, really pissed me off. Remember, she's the CEO of Turning Point now. For Turning Point USA Faith, she launched Make Heaven Crowded. Actually, it's Make Heaven Crowded Again. Actually, that was the name of it, which is the worst name ever. I hate that name. She launched it, and one of the speakers was Pastor Greg Laurie of Harvest Christian Fellowship Church. Okay. Here's where it gets weird. So Erika Kirk has this Romania Angels thing. The Colonel guy involved in Romania with this orphanage. Greg Laurie is involved in a bunch of lawsuits tied to this pastor who worked for his church that allegedly is being accused of child, you know what, trafficking in Romania. Now you have 2 links to Romania. That's not a coincidence. That's weird. Why every time it's something with her, it always circles back to Romania? And this is just what we know. Remember, she scrubbed her whole social media. You can't find nothing. Lord knows what else we would have found. But if that doesn't make your antennas go up, I don't know what. It's weird. This same pastor who you allowed to speak just so happens to have 12 lawsuits regarding trafficking young children in Romania. There goes that country again. There it goes, Romania. That don't make sense. By the way, she should be called out by everybody for this. I don't know how anybody could attend a Turning Point Faith anything with this. I don't know how anybody could do it. If I were a Turning Point USA or Turning Point Faith employee or support or whatever, I would straight up send an email and say, hey, I've been a part of Turning Point Faith for a while. I'm involved in the church. I love you guys. Why did you let this pastor who has 12 lawsuits stemming regarding trafficking of minors in Romania, why did you allow him to speak at Turning Point Faith? And oh, wait a second. You were also in Romania. Okay, now this is getting weird. Erika, can you speak to this? Can you explain it? Why is it always Romania? It gets weird. It gets weird. All right, let's keep going. Number 4 from Candace. Erika lived in China to work with child, you know what, trafficking victims. She today denies she ever lived in China, despite multiple past interviews in which she confirms she lived in. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to say China. Okay, so Candace says, why lie? It's worth noting that according to our State Department, that area is a hotbed for child, you know what. So it might be prudent for us to understand exactly which charities she worked with victims. Now, I haven't seen any proof of this one. Obviously, we know she lived in China. That one we know for a fact. But this whole thing where Candace says Erika lived in China to work with child, you know what, trafficking victims. I actually did do a little Google search on that. I haven't found it yet. I guess I got to do a little bit more digging. But I haven't found any proof of that one. So I don't know. But she did live in China. I don't know why she lived in China. But if that's true and she lived in China to work with you know what victims, that's even weirder. That makes it even worse if that's the truth. Then she says number 5. Jillian lived in the number 1 neighborhood for you know what, trafficking. Then we go to here. It is worth noting that Tyler Boyer and Erika attended ASU. I'm assuming that means Arizona State University, right, guys? I don't know. I'm assuming that's what that means. That's what that is. So I'm just going to say Arizona State University. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Unironically, the number 1 university mentioned in the Epstein files. Is that true? That's crazy. And both Tyler and Erika spent time during the same year in Romania. Is that true? I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, again, that's just too many coincidences. Did they cross paths in Romania or at university? Exactly. All right, guys, we're going to transition here. I think that's everything from Candace. Let me check her channel just to make sure, and then we're going to talk about Turning Point because I'm not going to lie to you guys. There's something up with that organization. There's something up with that organization that I don't like. Okay. Looks like that's it for what Candace Owens had to say. Somebody said it's not looking good. It sure ain't. Hold on. Looks like your name is Christy. Hey, Christy. Hold on, Christy. It gets worse. It gets worse. And I'm gonna be real careful because y'all not gonna be sending a cease and desist to me. In my opinion, there's a lot of people on this Turning Point board, more specifically the advisory council, right here, that are very, very questionable. Very questionable. They have some weird past. They do. Also, I've never seen this many people on an advisory board. This is insane. Look at all these people. Why do you have this many people on your advisory council? So many people. So many. So I did some looking into Turning Point. I'm going to give you guys the surface level stuff. So I looked at some of these people on the advisory council for Turning Point, okay? Some of these people, money is going from Turning Point to their organizations, and it's very weird. So for those who don't know, Turning Point, these advisory board members, they don't just sit on Turning Point's board or advisory council, they sit on other boards. When you look at where the money's going with Turning Point, some of these people on Turning Point's advisory board, somehow there is money going from Turning Point Action or Turning Point, one of their companies, whatever. Because for those who don't know, Turning Point USA is the nonprofit, but some of their companies are for profit, just so you know. Not every Turning Point subsidiary is a 501c3. So if you look at the financial disclosures, the ones we could find, some of these people are getting money to the organizations that they sit on the board on from Turning Point. And it's like a lot of money they're getting too. And I'm just trying to figure out why. Now, for those who don't know, and maybe some people won't agree, but if you just really look into this, I'm telling you, this is the case. I think I said this at the beginning of the live stream. There are a lot of organizations in the United States of America and in the world for that matter that participate in money laundering. Some of these big organizations are front for something else. I'm not accusing Turning Point USA of that. I don't know. But a lot of these organizations in the U.S. are like that. They make this big 501c. These are games of the rich. They make this big 501c3 and, they put money through it and they donate it to these other organizations and they do God knows what. I bet you if we looked at Bill Gates, it'd be the same thing. We looked at the Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation, it'd probably be the same thing. Most of these foundations and 501c3s, same thing. It's very weird, some of the stuff that I saw. And then there were some board members that were very questionable. I actually was watching a Baron Coleman live stream and he pointed one of them out. I don't remember which one he pointed out. Let me see if I can find him. He pointed out one of them. One of them is very, very weird. What was that? Yeah, this guy right here. I think this is the guy that Baron Coleman pointed out on his live stream. This guy being a board member it's weird. This guy's weird too. Some weird stuff going on with him. There's a few other people. I just don't get it. I do get it. It's corrupt. Not saying Turning Point is, I don't know. But there's some weird moves being made that they're doing. And Wolves and Finance has been doing a good job going over their finances, what he can go over, but it's been crazy. All right, let's look at more Turning Point people. So going off what Candace said about Turning Point having these weird ties, there's just these weird coincidences that always involve some sort of trafficking. Let's go down the rabbit hole here. Article right here out of Rolling Stone. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA teamed up with a registered offender. Let's keep reading. Oh, of course, there's a paywall. Of course. There's always a paywall. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, we're going to have to go here. Here we go. Looks like there's no paywall on this one. Okay. Turning Point USA partners with registered you know what offender for pastor's event. Turning Point USA held a pastor's summit with attendees who have railed against purported groomers. The founder of one of the event's sponsors is a registered you know what offender. Turning Point USA's recent pastor summit was brought to you in part by a registered you know what offender. Members and affiliates of the right-wing extremist friendly group are some of the most vocal in the crusade to malign. Okay, what? All right, hold on. But the group appears to be more accepting of those. Yeah, I want to get to the part. But the group appears to be more accepting of those found of preyed on. Blah blah. Okay. Blah blah blah. They're talking about Charlie Kirk. Okay, here we go. His name is Bergstrand. Referring to Bergstrand's conviction, TPUSA spokesman Andrew Kovic told Rolling Stone the group was not aware of this incident. He noted that Bergstrand was an exhibit sponsor and was not a speaker or organizer at the event. But here's my thing. Why are you not vetting these people? That's not an acceptable answer to say, well, we didn't know that he was a you know what offender, that he was registered. You guys don't do background checks to people who sponsor your events? By the way, I bet you this is a lie. When Andrew Kovic says that he was only a sponsor and he wasn't a speaker or organizer, I bet you if I really dug, he probably was some sort of speaker or he probably did other work with them. I bet you he did. But when you start to connect these dots, it starts to get really weird. Then it says, of course, TPUSA is trotting out a convenient excuse for allowing Bergstrand's company to sponsor the event. Exactly. One of the core tenets of the Christian faith is forgiveness rooted in repentance, Kovic told Rolling Stone. Yeah, but you could forgive somebody for that, but not allow them to speak at your event, right? It was critical to bringing him to faith. Kovic continued. He doesn't hide from what happened. He instead posts his testimony online on his company website. Turning Point USA will not toss away a repentant, decent person because of a mistake that happened over a decade before. A mistake? A mistake? Let's scroll back up. Registered you know what offender. That's a mistake? That's it? All you got to do is repent? Turning Point welcomes you back? No, there's something deeper here. That guy is probably wealthy and powerful and whatever. Probably. That's crazy. In other words, God wants us to keep working with registered you know what offenders and his money. That's what I think too. So that's what MSNBC is saying. That's exactly what I think. That's exactly what I think is happening. It's very weird. All right, so that's one employee, or not employee. That's let me be careful. He's not an employee. That's one person affiliated with Turning Point USA who was a registered you know what offender. But wait a second, guys, it gets worse. It doesn't end. We got another one. And this was just weird. I'm not saying this has anything to do with Turning Point USA, but it is part of the story because it's weird. So if you guys remember, when Charlie Kirk got murdered and shot, there was a scramble, there was chaos. Cops were trying to figure out what happened. And if you guys remember, everybody on Twitter, a lot of big accounts on Twitter were very quick to say, we found him, we got him. You know, we got the guy. It was this old man. He shot Charlie. Turns out he didn't shoot Charlie. His name is George Zinn, by the way. He was a 70-year-old man. Right here, the man who claimed he shot Kirk during chaos. Then cops found disturbing cachet on his phone. Folks, the guy who lied and said that he shot Charlie Kirk had child you know what on his phone. By the way, he got sentenced. He got sentenced. Right here. 15 years. God, the New York Times is so annoying. Let's go somewhere. Here we go. This is the same guy, that 70-year-old man. They found child, you know what, on his phone. 15 years in prison. So weird. It's just weird. I'm not saying Turning Point has anything to do with it. But again, we already went over this person right here. This person was a sponsor of a Turning Point event. They were a registered, you know what? Then you got this guy. He says, I killed him. I did it. No, you didn't. He was at a Charlie Kirk event. They found child, you know what, on his phone. He got 15 years. Let me show you guys another person. Here we go. Lawsuit accuses Turning Point staffer and Avondale council member of kidnapping teen. And again, these are all allegations. I'm not saying Turning Point did anything. I'm just pointing out that it's weird that this organization has all these allegations. Very weird. A new lawsuit accuses a Turning Point staffer of kidnapping the daughter of a subordinate last year after he reportedly rebuffed the staffer's you know what advances. The accused, who is also an Avondale City Council member, says the claims are false. Court records show Jeanette Garcia is accused of getting drunk at an election victory party at a restaurant last November and sexually, you know what? Sexually, you know what? An unidentified man she had supervised for Turning Point. Garcia is also accused on the same night of falsely suggesting to the man's unidentified daughter that he was intoxicated and may become violent. Garcia and other Turning Point staffers, with help from Maricopa County Sheriff's deputies, allegedly took the 14-year-old girl to the next day. Want to make it clear, Garcia denies all the claims and is threatening a counter lawsuit. That's 3 people, guys. 1, 2, 3. I actually think there's one more that I forgot to include. Let's go here. This is the guy. This is the local solo independent journalist in Arizona who's been getting threatened constantly by Turning Point USA. They send him like cease and desist letters and all kinds of, they hate this guy, but he's been on them. And he uncovered something that I don't think anybody knows. Tyler Boyer, according to him, Tyler Boyer cover-up of alleged, you know what, assault by prominent Turning Point employee. Another Turning Point employee involved in this stuff. Isn't that weird? Come on, guys, let's be honest. It's crazy. All right. I agree with you. Who said the old man was a distraction? I agree with you. He played a role. I agree. I think so too. I think that old dude was doing his role, because that don't even make sense. Like, why would you even do that? Who does that? Who does that? Yeah, that was too weird for that to be normal. That was his job. That was his job. All right. I don't know what he got in return for that. The old man, let's go back because you guys are bringing up a good point. I agree. Look, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I am completely woken up. A few months ago, I would have thought all you guys were crazy. Till you start piecing all this stuff together and how weird it is. Y'all not crazy. Y'all not crazy. They're just really good at hiding this stuff. It's hard to put the pieces together because these people plan this stuff for a while. They're so good at this. They're so good at this. They plan this stuff for a while, and then they gaslight the hell out of you. And then when you finally get to the point where you're starting to uncover something, then they sue. That's how they really silence you. That's how they really get you. Then they sue. Shut up. We're going to bankrupt you and ruin your life. Which, by the way, I respect a lot about Candace. Because as I said, Candace Owens is unique. because Candace Owens is one of the few people in the world. Well, first of all, she's smart because she's like a lord. She married in the royalty. She married in the British royalty. Her husband is a lord or a son of a lord. Lord Farmer. What's his name? Michael Farmer. So she gonna be fine regardless. If anything happens, she can go to the UK with him and be fine. She'll be over there with the House of Lords and be fine. You can't touch them. You can't touch them. They got a whole different level of power. So Candace is in a unique situation where, unlike us peasants in the United States, we could be silenced and bankrupted and all that stuff. It's much harder for them to do that to her, which is good because it's able to uncover a lot of this stuff. I don't know if we'll ever really fully get to the bottom of what happened, but something happened. Something happened. That whole 71-year-old man, I did it, arrest me. And then everybody lets down their guard. And it's like, okay, we finally got the guy. This is him. They let down their guard and then the real person gets away. And then whatever else happened, it's weird. Don't make sense. Don't make sense at all. Okay, so let's go back to this. Again, this is the guy who Turning Point is currently trying to ruin his life, the independent journalist who lives in Arizona. So this guy says, oh, here we go. Look, he says it in this article. And I bet you guys have never seen this, have you? He says it in the article that Turning Point threatened him. Look, update. Despite publicly seeking comment on this article from Turning Point Action employees, which was linked in the comments of the article itself, I have now received a rather ridiculous and threatening letter from the Turning Point Action General Counsel, Frank Carney, with the obviously false statement. As you know, you made no attempt to reach out to Turning Point Action for comment or to verify the claims made against the organization and its leaders and staff. Once again, they're using the courts in their favor. This guy already said that he reached out to Turning Point. He said he reached out to Turning Point. This lawyer is saying, no, you didn't. Funny how that works, isn't it? No, you didn't. They get to make the rules. What are you talking about? I did reach out to them. No, you didn't. Because we said so. Now we're going to ruin your life because now you're going too deep. You need this is what they're trying to tell him. They're saying it the legal way. The legal letters is code for slow down, buddy. You don't want no parts in this one. We got money, we got power, we got influence, we got the Trump administration on our side. We got everything. What do you have? Slow down. Stop asking questions. I don't know what you're talking about. You never reached out to anybody with Turning Point. They never got any emails from you. Right, guys? Right. That's right. Do what you're told. Employees. I don't know what you're talking about. My employees said they never spoke to you. It's not like I had a private conversation with them and told them to play ball. That's the games these people play. It's a dark world out here. It almost makes me think, do I even really want to get into this? Because this is a dark world. It is a dark world. And they play these tricks and these games, and they're so good at it. All right, so he shows the proof, his tweets. Then he says, I previously wrote about, this is what I was getting to, guys. There allegedly is, you know what, assault allegations regarding Tyler Boyer, at least according to this guy. He says, I previously wrote about an alleged pattern of corruption by Tyler Boyer and Turning Point, including a history of you know what assault allegations. In response to that story, a new victim has come forward bringing allegations of a recent you know what assault by prominent Turning Point Action employee Matthew Martinez and subsequent cover-up by his friend and Chief Operating Officer, COO, Tyler Boyer. See excerpts of the police report below. Martinez has frequently appeared on the Charlie Kirk show and is heavily promoted as a Turning Point speaker, leader of trainings in multiple states, and as a data guru who was given credit for drawing the maps for all door knocking and mastermind behind. Okay, blah, blah, blah. A former Turning Point employee states that Martinez is the grandson of a large Turning Point donor. There goes that big money again. There it goes. Money and power. Mr. Carney denies this, saying there is no record of any kind of Mr. Martinez's four grandparents having donated even $1 to Turning Point Action. Additional details have been requested from Mr. Carney. Now, let me tell you the games that they play when you get in the rich people land. A lot of rich people don't donate using their name. I'm not saying that this statement by this Mr. Carney lawyer guy is right or wrong. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there's this thing called dark money. You can look it up. Look up dark money. Look up how dark money goes into political campaigns. Dark money is a way for rich people to donate to certain causes or certain people without the public knowing. So then when you accuse them of it, the lawyers can say, hey, you don't have any proof. I'm going to sue you and ruin your life. That's how this stuff goes. That's how it goes. Somebody asked a question. Echoes, what do you think of Charlie Kirk distancing himself or hating Candace? All right, I'm glad you asked that. I'm going to tell you what I honestly think. The funny thing is, there was this thing with Andrew COVID, I believe. I have to go back and look at my notes and remember because I wrote some of this stuff down. There was this thing with Andrew COVID where they were trying to say that Charlie Kirk and Candace were not close or not friends and they weren't texting. And then somebody, I think Candace Owens, showed proof that they were, and then Andrew COVID confirmed it. Something like that. I'm sure most of you guys know what I'm talking about. So Andrew COVID pretty much confirmed that they actually did have a relationship. That's one. Two, Candace Owens was just recently under a non-disparagement agreement with Turning Point. So she was still working with Turning Point USA for speaking engagements. Now, here's what I ultimately think about Charlie Kirk and Candace. I don't think that Charlie Kirk and Candace were as close as they used to be. They were like best friends back in the day. I definitely don't think they were that, but I don't think he hated her either. I really don't. I think they had a more cordial, professional relationship. And again, I don't know. I'm just telling you guys what I think. I definitely don't think he hated her. Definitely don't think that. I think he had a cordial, regular relationship. And again, these are two massive political figures on the right. So I think that it was in both their best interest to continue to work together, which is why Candace Owens was still technically employed by Turning Point USA as a speaker. She could still get paid by Turning Point to do speaking engagements, even though she wasn't directly under the company. She might have been an independent contractor, but you guys get my point. She was getting money from them. That's why they're threatening to sue her over that non-disparagement agreement. So that's what I think about that. All right, let's keep going. The victim alleges that as a junior employee in the months leading up to the recent Trump election, she was working closely with senior employee Martinez's COO Boyer, with Martinez often acting as her project leader. According to the victim, Martinez and Boyer were friends, frequently having dinner and drinks together. Boyer has frequently publicly complimented Martinez, including after the alleged assault, saying Matthew relentlessly worked to train thousands of ballots, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Details of the alleged assault by Matthew Martinez. In a written statement of the events from the victim with identifying details redacted, she writes, while in Arizona, I was introduced to and partially trained by Matthew Martinez. 2 months later, and leading up to him coming out to lead our first training, I helped him on several work-related projects. On the first day of training, Matthew had asked me if I might show him around a little bit, but I was tired and busy, so I declined. The next day, Matthew asked me if I would drive him to a meeting. He didn't have a car, so I thought I was being helpful. He told me to expense my mileage because it was for work and that Tyler had approved it. Later during the work week, I offered to take him to see a basilica he had previously expressed interest in, as I have a strong love for that church. I love building friendships that are founded upon a mutual faith in God. I offered to drive because that was what he had previously asked me to do, considering he had no car. We had attended. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Well, you guys get the point. The bottom line is, this person is detailing everything that happened. So again, I'm showing you guys that multiple people affiliated with Turning Point USA have some sort of, assault, some sort of child, whatever. One of them was a registered you-know-what offender, it gets weird. Something deeper going on with Turning Point USA. I don't know if I want to dig deep because I do not want to be on the radar. Do not want to get my life ruined. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll leave that to Candace. Somebody said, welcome to the Standis side. I am not a Standis. I'm sorry. I am not. I am a objective critical thinker who calls things like I see it. If Candace is right, I'll say it. If Candace is wrong, I'll say it, because over here, we're just looking for truth. I'm sure you're joking, by the way, so no big deal. But just want to make it clear, I am not a Standis. I am not. I am a truthist. We stand for the truth. And the truth is, there's something up with Turning Point USA. There's something up. It's probably even worse now that Erika Kirk has taken over. It's probably even worse. So, how long have I been streaming? An hour? All right, I've been streaming an hour. All right. You know what? I am going to make a video on this. I'm going to talk about this. So this ends the Candace Owens section, guys. Sorry. This ends the Candace Owens section. Oh, hold on. Somebody said Charlie Kirk wasn't that smart if he had his people or he knew and was evil. Okay, Gil, I want to talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me tell you what I think happened. I don't know if Charlie knew or didn't know what was really going on with Turning Point USA. I don't know, because you got to remember he was a very young guy and he got famous at a very young age. You got to remember that. Charlie Kirk got famous right around the time when I was super young. We're talking about when I was like 20 years old in college. Charlie Kirk has been famous since like 2016. 2016, I was 20 years old. There are a lot of older people with ties to some very weird and dark organizations that are affiliated with Turning Point USA. I don't know what Charlie knew or didn't know. Maybe there is some criticism for some of the things that have happened with Turning Point. Maybe there is, but when you're that young and you're blowing up really fast like he did, it is very easy for wolves in sheep's clothing to come and take advantage of you. It is very easy. Very easy for that to happen. Because like I was saying, Gil, these people are really good. These people are good at infiltrating. You ever hear the term handler? The term handler exists for a reason. These organizations have these handlers and they assign them and they're like, you're going to be this person's handler. And that person don't even know that that's their handler. They don't even know. That's your handler and you don't even know it. And their job is to guide you a certain way. That's their job. That's their job. And again, I'm not going to say organizations' names because I don't want to get myself in trouble here. But there are other organizations that are tied to Turning Point USA. A lot of the people on the Turning Point board and who are affiliated with Turning Point are tied to other organizations that are tied to conspiracies. This stuff gets wicked. This stuff gets wicked. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I'll cut the stream there. That's really all I got for you guys. So yeah, that is today's live stream. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, feel free to subscribe as we will be doing more live streams in the future. We'll do the best we can. And yeah, I streamed for a good old hour. I gave you guys the best that I could. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and hear my thoughts. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next live stream. Thanks for being here.